Sorry about that. We're going to go ahead and get started. We'll record it and we'll just post it later. I apologize for the 15-minute delay. So we are going to go ahead and get started and welcome everyone. Go ahead and pull up my screen. Can you, well, I don't think you can see it. So let me share my screen so that everyone can see it. Can everyone see that okay? I'll try later to get that back up on Facebook so that folks can watch that and have my daughter. We tried a couple of different things there. So I apologize that that technology didn't work out for us tonight. So I do want to thank everyone for participating and welcome you to the Benton Dialogue on Race, Equity, and Education. This is the second of 3 community dialogues that are designed to build awareness and understanding about what we know and don't know about the experiences of people of color in our community. The goal of the dialogues is to tell our story, simple as that. And the way we can do that is providing much needed opportunities for our community leaders to engage in meaningful conversations with people of color so that they can speak truth to power on this complex issue of racism and its impact on our lives and our communities. Again, today's conversation focuses on equity in education. Our guiding question is, how do we ensure students and families of color know they belong here and that we're in their corner? So with that in mind, our topic covers a broad range of issues in education, and I'll list those there: minority recruitment of educators, administrators, the culture of inclusion in our school campuses and its impact on parent participation and student achievement, minority representation in our gifted and talented programs, discipline and expulsion of students of color or students with disability or low-income students, as well as the experiences of our athletes and their transition to higher education, and the impact of having at-large school board representation versus representation by zone. Again, we reemphasize our shared values of justice, community, opportunity, and equity. And our goal is to build a bridge, to have a shared understanding of the important role that we all play in making change happen in our communities. A little background on our history and Benton in particular. In 1954, we all know the Supreme Court ruled that separate educational facilities are inherently unequal. Previously in Benton, when transitioning from elementary to high school, Black students traveled outside of Benton to attend high school to locations that included Dunbar High School in Little Rock and other high schools. The Benton School District built the Ralph Bunche High School, and the elementary school was already in existence in response to the 1957 desegregation crisis in Little Rock Central High. But after integration, the Little Rock School District would no longer serve our students of color who were coming in from out of town. So with integration forced upon the Little Rock School District, traveling out of town for high school no longer existed as an option for our Black students in Benton. So the Benton School District responded by building the separate Ralph Bunche High School for its Black students. And that was around 1957 or so. So segregation continued as a way of life in Benton School District until about 1965, when phased integration began in our schools. And then in 1968, to avoid the risk of losing federal funding, the Benton School District closed that Ralph Bunche Elementary and Ralph Bunche High School, forcing the district to fully integrate. The high school, which was built in 1957, was torn down, and the gym, or the multi-purpose buildings you see there, was gutted. According to an August 8, 1968 article in the Benton Courier, this was because of the location. Quote, it would have to be an integrated school in order to meet federal requirements, but white students don't want to attend an all-Negro neighborhood in a remote area from the most of the city. So, unquote. So it's been just over 50 years that we've achieved that minimal equality in our schools. So our discussion today is, have we achieved equity? So to answer that question, I'm excited to welcome our distinguished panel of community leaders. and extend to you my sincere gratitude for your participation and sharing your perspectives and your insights tonight. But before we allow you to introduce yourselves and me continue to work on getting you to Facebook Live, here's a reminder about our ground rules. Our goal is to develop a shared understanding and a common ground for solutions for our city going forward. To do that, we ask you to use your head to listen actively and to be open to building your understanding. Use your heart to take responsibility for the quality of the discussion, to be respectful and not to monopolize the discussion, and to, of course, use your hands to do the hard work of moving forward, to be action-oriented and future-focused. We want to develop real solutions, whether it's policy or volunteering or mentoring on this issue. Also, as a reminder, all the panelists have been given a list of questions and asked to review them. That was last week or so, and that list of questions have been pared down, and we keep our responses down to 3 minutes so that we allow ample opportunity for everyone to fully participate. Also, previously to tonight, everyone was asked if they were uncomfortable answering any questions and to let me know. And since I did not receive any notice that any panelist was uncomfortable, we will proceed with the questions that we previously shared. So at this time, we are going to give our panelists the opportunity to introduce themselves. And in doing so, we ask you to tell us what you love about Benton School District, and then to answer the question, if you woke up tomorrow and your hopes for equity in education have been realized, what things will be different? Before we do that, I do want to thank Veronica Jackson for being a part. She is co-hosting with me and also helping to facilitate the conversation. She is a consultant with UA Currents, University of Arkansas, so I appreciate her support tonight. So first, we'll start with Dr. Skelton. The question, again, to introduce yourselves, tell us what you love about the Benton School District, and then if you woke up tomorrow and your hopes for equity in education have been realized, what things would be different?
Well, first of all, thank you for the invitation to participate, in this dialogue and discussion. So Mike Skelton, Superintendent of the Benton School District, and just some of the things about Benton that really stand out to me is first and foremost is community support. Right now we're in the middle of planning for the Ralph Bunche picnic, and it's going to look somewhat different this year than what it ordinarily does. But man, that was one of the first things that when I was hired here in Benton and I got to participate in, that it just blew me away. This is my 5th school district that I've worked in, and I've never seen that kind of community support, like what we have here in Benton. And so that's definitely one of the things that stands out to me. I think the family type atmosphere that we have within our school district and within our community speaks volumes. Is it probably perfect or to the level that it needs to be? Probably not. And, we can continue to have those conversations as how we can make it more that way in the future. I guess the last part of your question, I guess it would be that, we wouldn't have the need any longer to have these types of discussions, that it would just be a given that, equity is where it needs to be. But, I know that's a pipe dream, and I know that, as much as I would like for it to get there, that we're not there, and that we need to continue with working in the direction of making it more that way, to where everybody feels that it is that way.
Thank you for that. Gabe.
Hello, my name is Gabe Bronze, and I'm a counselor at Howard Perrin Elementary. I came to Benton last year. It's my first year in Benton, and I'm going on my 2nd year. But during my short time here, I found, kind of like Dr. Skelton said, a community that is really supportive. As a counselor, I lean on resources a lot, and I just have been blown away by the community support coming from parents and businesses alike. If I could change anything, I guess, to address your last question, it would be that schools will feel welcome for everyone, and everyone would feel like they matter. I believe that if you come to schools like you matter and you feel welcome, you're more willing to be able to learn. You're not worried about being in the hallways, or but you feel like you are able to learn and really focus in class.
Thank you for that. Tamika.
Hello, my name is Tamika Johnson. And what I love about Benton School District is the community support, the quality of education. Um, I'm a past student and a parent, a past parent. So it's been some good times and some bad times. And if I woke up tomorrow and my hopes for equity in education have been realized, I think it's just that when Black and Brown students go into the classroom, they're just seen as students and not as Black and Brown students. They're just looked at as everybody else. They're students and they get the same quality of education, compassion, concern as all the other students do. So that's what I'm looking forward to. Hopefully I will get to see that in my lifetime.
Thank you, Tamika. Yahira. You're on mute.
Okay. No? Okay. I'm Yahira Tapia. I have 3 students that attend Benton School District, all different schools. I have a senior that just graduated and she is now at Henderson State. At one point I had four children at 4 different schools. So you can guess how that was like. What I really like about the Benton School District is they really encourage sports. And I'm not much of a big sports fanatic, but when I saw how much or how involved that is here out in Benton, go Panthers, I found myself going to the games and just seeing all around me the support from the parents and just the opportunities that it really brings for students. I mean, I have a son that plays football and he's already talking about, the universities he wants to go to when he graduates. So I really like that. I really like how Benton School District encourages education. When my daughter was a senior, that was talked about a lot too. And she had the opportunity to go take dual courses and go to Pulaski Tech while she was a senior at Benton High School. And she really loved that. And because she was able to do that, she decided to pursue a career in nursing. So I do love that those opportunities are there for Benton School District. And as far as, equity, I just want all the students to have all the same opportunities. And not only that, but I want students to have more people. I want students to have more people they look up to, like if I was a child in the classroom and I had a teacher and she was of Latina descent, or he was African American, these kids, I think, could really benefit from a role model. And I was actually looking at studies and I wrote down something about I don't know, I could send it to you, Miss Freeman, but there were some studies done about children whose scores were actually higher when they learned from a teacher that was of their own race. So it'd be interesting to kind of look more into that.
Yeah, please send that. We'll be happy to share that resource with other participants as well. Thank you. To Mario.
All right, I'm Tamario Bogard. I am a former student of Benton High School, class of 2012. Also was an athlete there as well. So my time at Benton, best part about it, I'll have to piggyback on what some other people said, but it was the community. I enjoyed everybody coming out to the games, no matter what sport it was. And you really felt like, the whole city was behind you pretty much at every game, whether we did good or not. Then for the equity question, I was gonna say exactly what she said, just kind of more school or coaches. I've had the privilege of coaching, and I kind of know how it is to be a college coach, to come down to the high school level to try to recruit and that type of thing. So there's somebody there to kind of, that can level with the other athletes that kind of know what it's like to be like that bridge from the college scene to the high school scene. So
Thank you. Yeah, great. Thank you. Tariq, you're up next.
Hi, Tariq Bogart, also a former student at Benton High School and a former player at Benton High School. To piggyback off, what everyone has also said, the community is one big thing I love about Benton. These people around Benton, they really know how to just get behind their own, and they just really make you feel good about that. And just being able to go out in any way to represent Benton, you feel very proud because of that community that you have coming from the people of Benton. The equity question, what I would like to see has already been said, of course, is the opportunity, the diversity, everything that needs to change. That's what, ideally I would like to see. We need the proper funding in certain areas. You need, to see a teacher that looks just like you and that can relate to you. And so those are some things that, that I would like to see.
Thank you. Taking notes, Marcellus.
Hi, I'm Marcellus Nash. I'm a junior at Benton High School. I would say one thing that I really love about Benton and, Benton like specifically is how loving everybody is. Like, I feel like if you go outside, you can like literally make a friend with anybody. And, I'm like a very like friendly person. So I feel like I just clicked as soon as I came to Benton. And to answer the equity question, I would love to see like what everybody else said. I would love to see, teachers that look like me, because I feel like, as a Black student, it's harder for me to relate to some of the teachers and the authoritative figures that I have at school, because, I feel like they don't share the same experiences that I do. So I feel like I could learn a lot better, if I did have, somebody to look up to like that. Yeah, but that's it.
Thank you, Marcellus. Glad to see Andy Allison has joined. Andy, we are doing introductions, telling us what you love about the Benton School District. And if you woke up tomorrow and your hopes for equity in education had been realized, what things will be different? And you're still muted.
Hi, sorry to be late, and but so privileged to be able to join, and in particular with the other panelists. So I've been in Benton for since 2012, and we moved here on purpose because of the school system more than anything else. Selecting from areas in the, from school districts in the Little Rock area, and I have to say that I love about Benton the opportunities that my kids had. Two of my sons went to several years of school here after we moved in, and they had tremendous opportunity. I would say, especially athletically, we have great coaches, great program, and that's something that was so beneficial to us. And of course, my wife and daughter have taught in the schools, and I appreciate them greatly. I guess, my vision for where I would like to see us is that I'm going to emphasize awareness that that Benton children of color feel as if and know that the adults and the leadership of the community are rooting for them, and that they do so with honesty and transparency. I would love to know in some number of years or in the future that that's actually what Benton's children thought was in the minds of people like me.
Thank you. I'm going to go back to Mario for our next question. We thank everyone for your responses. So you spoke a little bit about your experience as an athlete. So I would say, if you could talk a little bit more about your experience as both an athlete and a scholar, and why racial inequity, how it's holding the school back, and what your experience has been in that area.
Okay. I can go from a scholarly point aspect first, since it is student athlete. So, as far as the classroom it was great, because Benton does set you up to, go to the next step, which is college. And balancing the work with the athletics wasn't always easy, because you want to, put more importance towards the athletics instead of the work. But I had some coaches that would stay on us and make sure that our grades were up to par, and if they weren't, then we had to go from there. And what was the rest of the question? Sorry. You're muted.
No, I'm muted. So as your experience as both an athlete and a scholar, how did you experience any racial inequity? How did it hold you back or hold the school back, from that perspective?
Okay. Well, I would say during our time there, we did have a lot of good players of color. And as one of those players, I don't always feel like that all our talent was maximized to its fullest potential. Despite of, it shouldn't have mattered color or your last name, who you were in town, nothing like that. To me, it should matter putting the best people on the field to succeed as a team. And during my time there, we rarely won. We were like 2-8 for a lot of the times. And I just feel like that our talent wasn't fully maximized because of, whether it was they didn't want to put too many of people of color on the field or whatever it was. So that would be my only thing. And then other than that, helping the guys get to the next level. We had plenty of players that were very talented. And I think in my graduating class, only 2 people in our entire class went to play college football out of the whole class. So I feel like that help to getting to the next level wasn't really there then. I believe they're doing a much better job now with what they have now. But yeah, that was something that was holding us back for sure.
Yeah, sports are such an integral part of our experience in high school. Tariq, did you want to add anything, your perspective, your experience on the field or in the classroom?
Tamario pretty much hit most of the points. It always seemed like there was a little political thing or whatever was going on. But at the same time, it was up to you to, make that decision on if you're going to play or not. Like, you have to prove yourself. But at the same time, you could tell there were some situations where it's like, it was questionable. But in the classroom, I feel like he said, Ben does prepare you to go to that next level. Ben stresses academics, and we take pride in academics. And when I went to college, that was not the classwork was nothing I was worried about, because I felt prepared from the teachers that I had at Benton High. Now, would I like to see more students in certain classrooms that look like me? Yes, but that's not ultimately up to the school district. That's up to the student. And are they, supposed to be in this class or that class? But all in all, yeah, Tamara hit on the points. We should have had a little more help trying to get to the next level. That's on both sides, the white student athlete and the black student athlete. There just wasn't much help for the athletes, period. But like he said, now, I feel like also some of the players are taking it more serious as well. And that's some that Mr. Allison was pointing out, that the sports now, they're doing a good job. And that's a lot to do with the coaches and the people that they're bringing in that are motivating these kids and letting them know, hey, there is something in that next level. And it just because you're using football to get to that next level doesn't mean that's what it has to be forever. You might just be using football to get there, and then you figure out what else it needs to be. And I feel like that's what's going on now rather than what was going on before.
All right, thank you. I'll kind of piggyback on what Tariq said and come to Dr. Skelton about that kind of that first question that we all had, and that's when you think about minority participation in some of those advanced classes, and what does that look like for Benton, you know, in terms of the race and race relations, minority participation in gifted and talented, and what our current state is and where would we like for it to be?
Yeah, so I think the best answer for that is we put some things in place that, you know, there are just a standardized set of criteria that students must be able to attain to be able to qualify for those type of programs, the GT, the AP type programs. However, we have taken part of what's called the AIMS initiative, and it basically helps to emphasize and target minority students of color, as well as in the STEM area of females, because you don't see a lot of females going into that area. And so we have put some things in place that even if students of color don't meet the actual criteria, there's some other things that we are looking at in those students to help identify potential in their ability to be able to be successful in those types of classes. And so, and we target that with minority students. That may include, you know, certain checklists or other types of assessments that bring their talents to the forefront that might not be showing up in some of the other criteria that it takes to get into those programs. So that's pretty much it, is that, you know, we've really put more of an emphasis on recruiting students of color into those programs, and even put some criteria in place to be able to make that happen, even if they don't qualify with the original criteria. And it may be that we need to completely revamp the criteria to begin with, you know, to throw it out the window and start over with some of those types of things that we've put in place just to target those students.
All right, thank you for that. And I would love to hear more about that criteria. But before we come back to that, I think Tamika may have some response to that and your perspective on the representation and gifted and talented and what you would like to see happen there.
Sometimes the standardized criteria doesn't always, it's not the same for our Black and Brown students, simply because we learn differently. We have different experiences. And so sometimes it may take a little bit more for different things to bring out the strengths and the academics of children of color. If they see someone in the classroom that looks like them, then they're more apt to do what needs to be done academically, because they feel like, okay, I have a Black instructor, or I have a Latina instructor, I have a female, then they can do it, so can I. And they can identify with that person that they're looking at. So then they know that I can attain that goal, I can reach that goal, and someone is there to help me with that goal. And sometimes when they see a Caucasian instructor, sometimes it may feel intimidating, so they don't reach the goals that they need to reach, or that they may just get looked over. And their academic excellence is not realized because they've been looked over. So I think looking at the criteria and just trying to make it as equal as possible, and bring some diversity into those gifted and talented classes and things like that, so they can see themselves, especially in STEM. I currently work at University of Arkansas, Pulaski Technical College, and we have a STEM department there. And just and we are focused on minority students, and give them a place where they feel welcomed, and they feel like all of the STEM coaches are African-American women and men. And it has done a lot for the students who are taking those STEM classes, is actually drawing them to take those STEM classes because they see themselves in that STEM department and saying, I can achieve this because they achieved it too.
Can I say something real quick?
Go ahead.
Okay, so when you were saying that, it reminded me, like, in my experience at Benton High School, like, I feel like they try to, like, ignore the race, like that, ignore your race to make you feel included. But in that process, they, like, lose a lot of people because, you know, that's your culture, and it's hard to just disregard that and still feel like you're included, you know. I feel like instead of dismissing the whole thing, make people feel more included by embracing diversity, embracing their culture. So yeah.
Great point. Thank you, Marcellus, and thank you, Tamika. Let's see, next, I want to kind of stay on that topic a little bit and come back to Yahira and ask you to talk about your experience as a parent currently, and that sense of inclusion that Marcellus and the embracing of diversity that Marcellus spoke about and Tamika also talked about. And what would you say is the state of race relations in Benton School District as a parent, and where are we and what needs to happen? You're still mute.
I think I'm okay now.
Yes.
You hear me? Okay. So when Mr. Nash was talking, and I was kind of nodding my head and yes, because definitely you want to feel included, you want to feel part of the community, but when we all together just ignore race and we ignore culture, you know, what kind of message are we sending out? And, you know, I talked to you a little bit about this, Miss Freeman, but having diversity and just a celebration of the cultures, like, I'm not sure if this Benton School District even did anything for Juneteenth, like, because I know that I was at a school and they did something for Juneteenth. You know, the students were able to express themselves, and with chalk, they did a lot of beautiful artwork. And this included all the students, whether you were white, whether you were Latino. So I'm talking about something for the students, but for all the students. Or, you know, why not celebrate Mexican Independence Day? Or why? That's how you make people feel included, like they belong. Like, oh, this person wants to learn about my culture. This person is basically saying, you're one of us. And in me saying you're one of us, I'm learning about your culture. And I talked about, you know, I'm Mexican. I don't know if y'all realize that, but I'm Mexican mixed, you know, mixed with a lot of stuff, Native American. And when my daughter has a best friend and her best friend's white, and, you know, her little best friend is learning Spanish. So that is one way that you can make someone feel like they are a part of your community, instead of kind of just, you know, huddling in your corner and thinking about all these racial stereotypes in your head. You know, if you see me at a school event across the room, I'm thinking, what is this person thinking about me? And all the Mexican stereotypes are going through my head. Oh, they probably think I only talk Spanish. They probably think I'm low income. They probably think I'm, you know, not educated enough. They probably think I, you know, work with crops in the field. I think about every single stereotype they could have about me, and maybe that is stopping them from coming over and talking to me and saying, hey, our daughters are in the same class, because we probably would have a lot more in common than we realize. But it's that fear and that, what's the word I'm thinking about? I guess it is a little bit of ignorance too, you know.
Thank you. Thank you. I agree. It's a combination of a lot of things: fear, ignorance, and sometimes it's just a matter of being willing to take the first step. So I'll come over to Gabe, and as a teacher, your experience in the classroom and why this issue of racial inequity, is it important, and why is it important, especially when it comes to parent participation?
It is very important to me as an educator. I will say that right now I don't have a clear picture on the state of how this looks in the Benton School District coming in, and this being my first year. But I'm so excited to be on this panel to hear and listen to what is going on and how people feel within the district. Like I said earlier, I feel like everyone should come to school like they matter and that they're welcome in the school. And I try every day to strive to be that counselor that speaks to everyone and motivates everyone and tries to push them to do the best that they can do. And that means reach out to parents and talking to students one-on-one and motivating them. That's what I do on a day-to-day basis. So this is very important to me as a counselor, and I'm here writing down notes while we're having a discussion so I can know what to go back to do in my school and hopefully around my district too.
Thank you. Thank you. And let's see, next we'll come to Andy. How do you see racial inequity holding our schools back? What's your scholarly research? Tell us.
I'm an economist by training, and one of the things that economists do is to study the accumulation of wealth, study where income comes from and how we earn more and how that transfers from one generation to the next, mostly through the things we learn and the environment our parents brought us up in. And I'm sitting here and I have, for weeks and months now, tried to imagine just how many generations ahead I was by the time that Benton, for example, integrated schools was it 1966? That's the year I was born. And I mean, I could spend 10 minutes, I won't spend any, describing the advantages that I had. And I've asked my kids, I've asked, others. I have not studied the curriculum in Benton schools, but I do wonder if it would matter to both children of color, minorities, and to their majority counterparts if the history was taught, if we really made an effort to emphasize that the Benton schools were integrated in their parents' lifetime, after their grandparents had already gone through, and had an emphasis for some period of time in school at various ages and at various depths to help children understand what it means to be a generation or 2 generations or 3 generations behind, and how profound that is. I don't know that solves everything, but I can tell you that there are people that look like me and my age who don't credit their own heritage in that way. And this is how they do it. They denigrate those who don't succeed, but who don't have that heritage and who were discriminated against, and where the bias still exists in other people's minds. I just wonder if it would help. And if the effort were as intense as it was with my children in environmentalism, which I don't resent, all of that our kids were filled with in terms of teaching about the earth, etc., and recycling, it worked, and I think in part because children inherently know that the official word of responsible adults is telling them that environmentalism is correct. Even if they don't hear it from their parents, they're hearing it from the school, and that matters. It's official. I think it matters if we can come together and for the school to overtly and collectively say, we were discriminating against African Americans less than a full generation ago. And that's and that doesn't go away in one generation.
Great point, great point. I often hear about Blacks need to know their history, but I think the same thing could be said about whites, that we all need to know the truth of our history, and just that it's, as I said in my opening statement, it's just been a little over 50 years since we've achieved minimum equality in our schools, just the minimum. But have we achieved equity in our education yet. Are we there yet? So let's move over to talking a little bit more about how do we get there with solutions? What do we need to do? And I'll come back to Dr. Skelton. You know, I gave you a whole list of things that can be done to improve the experiences of people of color in Benton schools, from hiring of educators of color, or policies, or scholarships, mentoring. Where would you land? I think what would be a priority as a superintendent on what can be done, solutions that we can put into to place to address some of these inequity issues?
Yeah, well, I think the obvious thing that stands out to me right now is just having these types of discussions and just listening. I'm learning so much just listening to everybody talk, and slow to speak, quick to listen type thing, and continue on with these conversations, and this not just be a one and done type thing. One of the things that I keep hearing mentioned from the panelists has to do with diversity within our teaching staff. And I want to give you some numbers here just real quick, that just in the last 3 years we've been able to hire 8 new minority staff members in the Benton School District. And that's something that I take a lot of pride in, and that we as a district take a lot of pride in. I do, as Marcella said, I want to embrace the diversity. I think it makes us all better. And so, anything that we can do to recruit and attract good quality educators, period, but also of color, then, that's what we're going to try to do. I had a good fortune of getting to hire Gabe twice now. Gabe, actually, we hired while I was in the Jonesboro School District. And when I came, here to Benton, couldn't wait to get him here and go to work, because I knew the quality that he is a young man, and have since hired a distant family member as well. In fact, we just hired our first minority elementary teacher in my time here in Benton. And so I think we're making some strides in the direction that people are speaking to. Is there more to do? Yes, there's a lot more work to do. And that's what we're going to set out to do. We want our staff to look more like what our student population is. So those are just some of the things, just to continue the dialogue, get people at the table and just listen to what they have to say. Because if the perception's out there that we are doing things a certain way and that we're not taking care of all of our kids, then I don't want it to be that way. I mean, we need to change that.
Thank you. Marcella, I'll come to you. What, as a student, what would you recommend solution-wise to improve make you feel included in the classroom, like you said earlier, about not seeing everyone as one color, but recognizing and appreciating our differences. If you have stories that you want to share, and solutions or suggestions you have to speak to that.
Well, I would definitely, like everyone has said, I would definitely love to see, more role models that look like me, and, that are a lot different than what we have now. But I feel like it's also a priority that, that teachers, and, our district people, they are having these conversations about race. So, it's not just ignored like it has been. I know, I've had some experiences with teachers that I just think there was just bare ignorance about race, and I don't think they were meaning to be racist, but some of the comments that they said to me just were racist, because I think they were just ignorant about it. Like, I've had teachers be like, "Oh, you're not like all the other Black people," or one day we had Spirit Week at the junior high, and one of my teachers, it was like Cowboys versus Aliens, and I dressed it up as a cowboy, and she was like, "Oh, you're a Black cowboy. I've never seen that before," and just stuff like that. It's disheartening for me as a student to hear those from my teachers, because these are the people that I'm supposed to be looking up to and learning from. And I feel like there's just a disconnect there when I hear those things, because I feel unmotivated to be in that class anymore, because I feel like it's just no point. Like, this person, they don't have the best interest that I have. So, why even try? And one of my friends actually, she had an incident that one of her teachers, they were like speaking about the Black Lives Matter movement, and she didn't feel comfortable like in that teacher's class because she couldn't really speak out without, you know, him coming at her. And she went to the counselors, and instead of them addressing the situation to the teacher, they just removed her from the class and put her in another class, which I kind of thought was, you know, which shouldn't have been done. Like the teacher shouldn't have been expressing his political opinions in that way in the classroom, you know, especially in front of students that are very impressionable. I just don't think that's a good idea. But, you know, I feel like it's a great idea that we are having these conversations because, you know, we can't change unless we are willing to, you know, unless we are willing to change, unless we have positive mindsets and we have open hearts. So I'm very grateful for this, and I hope we do, you know, see change in the future.
Yeah, thank you for sharing those, your experiences and those of your student colleagues. I guess I don't know if Dr. Skelton want to provide a follow-up to that, and it especially, I know it's not part of our questions, but I don't know why I'm muting myself, but in terms of expressing political opinions and things of that nature by the teachers, and for students to feel safe reporting their concerns when those type of issues come up?
Well, you know, that's a fine line, and you know, because everybody, you know, has the right to free speech. Now, it needs to be probably done in a way that doesn't create an issue like Marcellus has described here and some of the off-color comments that are being made. That just, you know, as he's saying those things, it hurts my heart to know that, you know, he's had to have those types of experiences, you know, in our school district and in his class, in some of his classes. And so, you know, those are things that we have to take a closer look at. We have to drill down as to what's the underlying problem here with if it's an individual or a group, and try to figure out a way to correct it and educate and just do better with the message that we're trying to put out there. That's, you know, the things that he's describing, that's not who I am, and that's not who I want us to be. And so I think there's just a lot of work left to do. And so I appreciate his perspective and listening to him and his thoughts, as well as the other former students, student athletes that we've got on the panel as well, because, you know, that helps me to really understand and know, you know, what it's been like for them as students coming through our school district, and what steps we need to take moving forward to try and improve upon some of these things that they speak of.
Thank you. Thank you. Tamika and Yahira, as parents, would you speak to Tamika first about what you would recommend and what you would want to happen to ensure that there is an environment that supports all students, especially students of color, but even white students, and that they're comfortable having this conversation? We've talked about how important it is to engage in this. So what can be done? Where can we begin to see these type of conversations start in our schools?
First of all, Black history. I don't know how much it has changed because Tamario and Tariq have been out of the school system for a while now. But I know when I was there, when they was there, we always talked about slavery. And that seems like that's all Black history was about: slavery, Martin Luther King, and Rosa Parks. And it is so much more to Black history. And I think if the more things were taught about Black history, that, you know, the traffic stop light was made by Black men, just all different things, all the inventions that were made by Black people. We were more than just slaves. And I feel that even for the Latina, Hispanic community, if we talk about the positives and not just bring out that the poverty of Hispanics or the poverty of African Americans, but if we talk about the positive things, yes, that is part of our history. That's not the sum total of our history. And I think if all students, Black, white, Asian, Hispanic, knew the positives of their history as well as their negatives, then we would see we have so much more in common than we do that divides us. And we could heal. Yes, we can talk about the slavery and heal, but we can also talk about what we have done positively to contribute to this country. So when we do have these Black Lives Matters protests, they're not looking at us crazy like, well, all you do is this and all you do is that. No, we have done a lot of positive. And the reason for because of our positive, this country is the way that it is. Because of the positives that the Hispanic community has brought to the United States, this is why the country is the way that it is today. And I think if we did that, then we would all come together and our hearts would be more open to see that we're really not that different. Yes, there are some bad in every culture, but we have so much more good in us. And I think if we highlight that, then we're making some steps to close that gap of ignorance and those things that his instructor said to him. Because if we taught, there is Black cowboys. We know that Black cowboys exist. There is a Black rodeo that exists. And those comments would have never been made if we talk about those things and not just talk about slavery. So that's it for me.
Thank you, Yahara.
Yes, ma'am. So, I mean, everything that Ms. Johnson said was totally on point. And I guess to sum that all up, I'm thinking about cultural sensitivity, cultural competence, also in the curriculum and what's being taught in schools. You know, if my daughter has to come home and tell me that it's Columbus Day and, you know, that Columbus made friends with the Indians and, you know, made the world a better place, then I know she's being taught history from an old dusty history book. No offense, but I want things to really indicate what actually happened and what's going on. And I understand that, you know, staff and people are going to have their own opinions. And someone talked about, you know, bringing politics into the classroom, and that's fine in your own time. And we have freedom of speech, and that's wonderful. But when you make someone uncomfortable or you make them feel a certain type of way, I think it's time to rethink that conversation and maybe change that conversation a little bit and not be afraid to talk about those topics, but just be sensitive in the way that we approach it.
Can I say something? Okay, so when she was talking, it reminded me, like, it's also a good idea that we have conversations like with our teachers about what's culturally okay and what's culturally not okay. Like, I feel like they just want to, you know, to feel included, they'll just, you know, say like appropriation for me is like a big deal in high school because, you know, Black culture is cool and everybody's trying to be Black. So I feel, you know, like it's important to have the conversations, you know, with our white peers that some things are okay, some things are not okay, some things are definitely not okay. And yeah, I think that's just another thing that needs to be said.
Thank you. Tariq, did you want to add to that?
Yeah, I wanted to piggyback off what my mom and Yahara said. I'm sorry if I said that wrong. But a situation that happened to me when I was in high school, just speaking about the history being taught. I think it was in our world history class. There was a chapter in there of the city of Kush from Africa, and it was a city of gold. And it was actually the first positive thing I've ever seen about African Americans in a history book. And I was excited to learn about it. I forgot what happened. Either we were out for a certain amount of days or it might have been spring break, something. But when we got back, that was going to be the next chapter. And we skipped over it and never went back to it or anything. We skipped right over, went to the back few chapters of the book. And I was always confused on, like, why did we never go over that? Why didn't we? And even when I asked, it was just like, oh, that's not in the curriculum. We have to get this, and this done. And that just really, like, it opened my eyes then. Even in high school, I was like, okay, why are we not learning about this? And then when February did come around, like my mom said, we were just learning about slavery and Martin Luther King and Rosa Parks. And I was looking like, okay, this was a good opportunity for myself and others to learn, like, hey, this is what this place is about. This is, it's not just, Africa wasn't just about lions and, tigers and elephants. It was more than what they're, painting the picture. And we never just got taught that. And I was just really like kind of hurt and like shocked that we actually just skipped right over it. And nobody ever asked anything about it or said anything about it.
Andy, I see you've unmuted. Did you want to piggyback on that?
I do, Robin. I have to be. I'm hearing that students, individuals of color, want to hear the positives from people of influence, their teachers. They want to know about it, and that's the right answer. I came into this conversation. I still feel in my heart people who look like me, and too many of whom run the world, so to speak. They think that's a gift. They literally think there's, that it wasn't earned. And I wish that weren't the case. And so my comment before is probably aimed more at people who look like me, who need to understand the advantages that they have had, so that they like to really genuinely try to infuse in them an understanding, which now the young generation has on a completely separate issue on the earth and on the environment, that we did this and we perpetuated it and we made it worse, and it's worth several generations likely of accumulated wealth and success. And that's why they shouldn't resist this call to teach the good as well. But I'm telling you, behind the scenes, the others, those who are still racist are saying to themselves, maybe if not publicly anymore, but I have definitely heard it, that whites are the history of the US, and that's what should be taught. White men are the history of US. They're the ones who did it all. Well, of course, but the of course part is me. It's not a lot of others who look like me. And it's going to be very difficult to change curriculums and the rest, I think, if you don't start with the kids and teach what's right, teach what actually happened.
Thank you. Yeah, I think we can look down through history and know that the conqueror gets to tell the story, right? The conqueror presents their version of history, and often that's what we face in our classrooms and in the narratives that we hear in our society is the narrative of the conqueror. So what can we do to change that? What would you like to see happen to Mario?
I think it's kind of already been said, kind of over and over again, just the, in history, everybody has to take history in high school. So just include the good, like my mother said, and some other people have said, and don't let the students be afraid to have a voice, whether that is any person of color, don't matter if it's white, black, Hispanic, anything. I feel like just like we're having a conversation here, I would like to see more open discussions in the school. There's a club for almost everything in the school. Why not, which I don't know, I haven't been in high school in a while, but like a diversity group or any type of group that could just speak on or give examples of history, of the Black history, of the Latino history, or anything like that. I know in college we had a Black student union that was mainly around that topic, is, just giving out information to anybody that wanted to be there and anybody that wanted to hear it. So I would like to see that happen, as long as the other things I've already stated with, which is good to hear about the minority teachers that you've been able to hire, Mr. Skelton. So yeah, that's what I would like to see. So
Yeah, I think that, thank you for that, that there was a multicultural group. It was called Diversity Club. A diversity club that my daughter in 2018 participated, 2017, 2018. That's when it started. That's when it was started, she's telling me. So that's a good start. And it would be great if we can include not just students of color, but all students who are encouraged to participate and to have opportunity to share in the cultural experiences, the history, to celebrate diversity. So I'll come to Gabe, I guess, and maybe I'll come to everyone, some takeaways, and because I think parent participation and student participation, but parent participation in particular is really important. And I can tell you as a parent, it's often hard. The older my child got, I only have one, it's harder for me to understand what role do I play? Where do I fit in? What can I do? Do I need to start a club, or do I need to, I can't really walk into the high school and volunteer. So what can you say to parents out there who want to get involved, who want to be a mentor, who want to help encourage participation in gifted and talented? As a counselor, what would you recommend, or what's a good recruiting message to our parents to help them to come to the table and get involved with this issue? It's a big question.
Make sure I unmute myself. I think it starts with what we're doing tonight, Ms. Freeman, with the conversations. I think that you have to reach out to parents and reach out to them in a way that is open and out of love, and that they understand you're coming for the best interest of their child. And when you do that, I think you'll get parents on both sides that are willing to come in and be mentors, have a discussion, so they can create a better atmosphere in the school for their child. And they can start with the school with opening the doors up and saying, hey, we're going to start a program. You know, would you like to come and be a part of this program? I was thinking about back to Jonesboro when I came up to my first year. I started a mentoring program, and I called it Man of Excellence at that time. And it was for my sixth grade boys at the time. And it was just something for me to do that I thought would benefit them. And all it was just based on motivating them to do the best they can in school. And so I would bring in mentors from across Jonesboro. I brought in a state football coach. I brought in the basketball coach, the baseball coach, the high school basketball coach, various men of different backgrounds, because I think you can learn from different people and get what I may say to someone, they may hear it differently from Tamario or Dr. Skelton, but having that person to represent and you connect with, my story may be different than the next person's story. So where parents can come in is if we were to start something like that again, and we have some mentors, you know, would anybody be willing to come in and talk to our students about their experience, or, you know, why is education important to them, and what could they do as a fourth grader or as a sixth grader or 12th grader so they can set themselves up for the future to be productive in society. So I think if we come from a standpoint of we're all doing this for each one of our kids, for your child and my child and for the next person's child, so we can have a better community, I think we'll get a lot of support from parents.
Yeah, that sounds like an awesome program, Men of Excellence.
Thank you.
And looking forward to seeing that in Benton.
Okay. Yes, ma'am. I ran out of time last year. I had to stop working early last year, so hopefully in the future we can do something like that.
What about it, Tamika Yaharo? He does Men of Excellence. Can we do Young Ladies of Excellence?
Sure.
It sounds like a great concept.
It does.
A great way to get parents involved, coming in as being speakers. I love it. I think we need more of that representation.
I was going to say something earlier when Tariq was talking, but me and some of my friends, we were actually, we got the idea to start a Black union at the high school. And we haven't really gotten all the details yet, but because we don't know how the school year is going to look and how that would work, to have the club and all that. But it was definitely something that we feel like needs to be had, and another problem that we kind of had, we didn't really know how the sponsorship would work because we don't have any Black teachers at the high school. But yeah, it was a great idea that we came up with, and I would love to see happen.
And you called it a Black union?
Yeah, yes, ma'am.
So it's sort of like a mentoring program?
Yeah, or it's just like a place, for Black students. Well, not exclusively Black students, but people of color or even some white students. Just a place where they feel like they can belong, and where we can talk about our problems and just relate to each other and just be a community. Because I feel like our generation, like we need that. We need like we just like emotional people. I just that's just our generation. Like we spill out our emotions all the time. So we just feel like we need to connect, to each other, and just, it's a place for us to feel welcome and for us to center ourselves. And yeah.
It sounds like a great concept, and we're going to put this out there in the atmosphere, and perhaps we can get some adult mentors or teachers, educators who would like to work with you to sponsor you in your efforts. Yeah. Make it a reality. I think more of that conversation is needed. So we applaud you on your effort. We want you to keep it up and be encouraged. So we'll do anything we can to support you and moving that vision forward.
I really appreciate that. I really do.
Absolutely. We're just going to go ahead and do some final thoughts as we kind of get close to our end. So we started out talking about what our visions and hope for racial equity would look like. And so I guess any takeaways that you want to consider today, after you've heard some of the stories and heard the experiences and some of the recommendations, how would you sum it up? What are you willing to contribute to the work? And where would you like to go from here? So we'll start with Dr. Skelton.
Yeah, well, I think, this really kind of set some things in motion for me tonight because, I'm thinking of things in my mind that I can do to help move forward with some of these ideas that have been shared here tonight. And, just listening to everybody and, it not just be talked about, that some actions will actually take place to see to these things being carried out. And so I think that's something that's very realistic. That's something that we can do together. And I see great things ahead. I think I've experienced some positive moves in that direction already, that I had set in, as goals for myself coming in as a superintendent here. And, we've taken some baby steps with it, but it's time to take some bigger steps now and get more done. So I would just ask any of you that are on the panel tonight that in the future, as we move forward, that if we reach out to you, that you would be willing to sit down with us and continue on with these conversations and what needs to be done, what the next steps are.
I'll come back to you, a follow-up question. We didn't really talk about school board representation. I don't know that in our history of our school board that we've had minority representation. It is at large positions, and is there potential in our future to have some zone of representation on our school board so that we can encourage more minority representation?
The answer to that is yes, there are opportunities for that. We could actually move to zones. I guess it would have to be a vote by the school board to do that. Currently by law, the way it stands today, it's based on the population and the Census Bureau data. The last census was taken in 2010. And, of course, everyone probably is aware that we're on the verge of getting the new census data here probably within this next year. And so right now, the way the law reads, you have to have a 10% minority in your school district based on census data. So the Census Bureau sends us this information every time there's, the census taken, and then we have to abide by that. So we just to give you an example, in 2010, we were at 8.5% in the Benton School District, and the threshold is 10%. And so therefore we are not zoned, and with this new census data coming out in 2020, that could change. I mean, we could be forced by law to move to that, or like I said, that could actually be done, but it would take action by our school board to do that.
Thank you. We'll come to Tamika. Final thoughts?
I've definitely enjoyed this conversation. I appreciate Robin for inviting me to be a part of it. I was a little nervous, but I'm glad that I participated. And I will do everything that I can. I'm currently in the master's program, accelerated master's program, getting my degree in social work. So I will do what I can to help the students or the Benton School District in any way that I can. Thanks for the conversation, and hopefully we will continue to keep these conversations going.
Thank you. Tamario.
Yeah, what they said. No, I have enjoyed this. I didn't know kind of what to expect, but it's been nice to hear kind of how Benton is going. I'm not old, but I've been away for about 8 years now, so I don't really know much about what's going on. So it's nice to hear. Speaking just from an alumni sport with the sports, I mean, I like the direction you're going in. Hopefully I can more, coaches input on helping them get to the next level with the grades and helping them with recruiting and how to present themselves and talking to coaches and that type of thing to get more of those student athletes that are minorities like myself to that next level. I mean, that'd be something I would love to see.
Thank you. So coming up to Gabe, the question is about what you're looking for in terms of the schools, the community, parents, your hopes, what you've heard after what you've heard today, and what do you want to happen next?
I'm thankful to be a part of the conversation tonight and being able to learn more about different experiences within Benton and the school district. And I look forward to hopefully being here for a while and being a part of some of the changes we talked about tonight. And that's my hope for the future. I can do what I can to be a part of the change and continue to have the conversation with you all.
Thank you so much. Yahira.
Thank you for inviting me, Miss Robin. I really enjoyed listening to everyone and connecting with everyone. I really hope I can be of help in the future. And I really look forward to more conversations and then possibly action in the future. And I was actually very surprised to see youth in our conversation, which I think is so awesome because the youth is our future and they are the ones that are going to be our doctors and our pharmacists. And you guys are going to be pushing our wheelchairs when we're in a home. So
speak for yourself.
It starts now, like what you're doing right now. You're our future. So thank you for being here. And with that said, if any of you need anything or if you need to reach out to me, Ms. Freeman, I'm available. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And since she mentioned our youth, we'll come to Marcellus next and what you hope to see happen next.
Well, I really appreciate, these discussions because like I said earlier, we really can't make a change unless we're having these discussions, unless people's minds are open and their hearts are open because, change starts right here and then it moves here and then it actually starts to happen. Like you have to be in the right mindset to actually, change. And You know, like I said earlier, I would love to see, you know, more diversity within our staff and, you know, within our, you know, body of in Benton. Um, yeah, but I really appreciate this, and thank you, Ms. Freeman. I really appreciate seeing everybody and talking with everybody. I would definitely say yes if anybody asked me to participate in anything else like this. So I definitely appreciate it, and I hope everybody, you know, has a great night.
Thank you, Marcellus, and we appreciate your participation, all our young men who are on this panel today. We thank you so much, and we're going to move to Andy, Dr. Allison, and what do you hope to see happen next?
Well, we've talked a lot about curriculum. I'd love to see a real effort put into strengthening the curriculum, and I hope it provokes, and I've heard that it probably would provoke conversations like this in classrooms and maybe outside classrooms in groups that form with minorities and others. And I hope to see that. And thank you for pulling us together so I could participate in this. And I wish and hope for days when minority students really believe in their hearts that we who look like me or who don't look like me but are in leadership have their best interest in mind. I hope for a day when they know that in their hearts.
Thank you so much. And Tariq, we'll give you the final word.
Thank you. Feel honored. No, but honestly, thank you for just inviting me and for letting me be a part of this. It really means a lot. I do hope to see change in the future, and I feel like we will, just the way Mr. Skelton and the way Mr. Allison, they've been receiving everything that has, you know, come forth. What I want to encourage and hit on, I want people to take advantage of the opportunity in the school and just around the community. Take advantage of the opportunity of just getting to know each other, getting to know people that don't look like you. It's something like special from just saying hello. Like something special can just come out of saying hello, just being friendly, showing yourself friendly. Like we're in this town together. I want to be known as people have been, not the Black people have been and the white people have been, like a community have been. That's what I always envisioned. That's what I always put in my head when I was putting on a jersey and going out to represent Ben. I was looking at the people of Ben. So I want people to take advantage of the opportunity of getting to just know that person across from you, instead of just like Miss Yahara was saying, building up those stereotypes in your head. Cut all that out and just take advantage of that opportunity. I had a friend, a white friend, when all this stuff happened. She said, "Well, what do I do? Because I'm not racist. I don't do anything. You know, I have Black friends. I do all this. I'm not racist. So what else do I need to do?" And I just said, just continue to take advantage of that opportunity. Show yourself friendly, and that needs to be on both sides. Because like a lot of times, Black people, we can mean mug, and white people, we can mean mug too. Like we can all come off kind of sometimes standoffish, but we need to just break those barriers down, see people for who they are, and that's as people, and just say, hey, we're here together. We're in this community together. Let's, when people come in from the Little Rocks, the Malvern, the Hot Springs, the Bent, wherever they're coming from, Cabots, the North Little Rocks, wherever they're coming from for games, let them see a group of people that are united and not just a separation. And that's they're those people and they're those people. No, we're together. We're Benton, and we're a community of love and unity. And that's just what I want to leave with.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And before we go, you all pretty much hit on the goals of our dialogue. So I want to share our next steps before we leave out. We will have another dialogue on August 27th, and that will be focused on our beloved community. You also hit on our personal responsibility, right? It's up to each one of us to continue the discussion, to engage in opportunities to get to know people who don't look or talk like us, who haven't had the same experiences as us. So get to know someone. And one way we can get to know someone is to join a Be the Bridge small group study on race and reconciliation. Janet Dixon is currently organizing those. She has a small group already formed, and we're getting ready to start meeting and participating. There is like a $10 charge to get the curriculum, and that can be supported if anyone has any issues with that. But her contact information is on the screen. And if anyone would like to participate, that's a great way to have those conversations. We also encourage people to educate themselves. One of the things, as has been alluded to, I myself have had a lot of white allies come to me and say, what can I do? And so just meeting and talking, having lunch with people, reading a book, How to Be an Anti-Racist by Ibram Kendi, or there are lots of different books and resources about this topic, and Google is our friend. So we can educate ourselves and learn more about the issues, take the responsibility for ourselves to educate ourselves, and just to be enlightened about the experiences. I think that Andy talked about, that we all have that responsibility of learning that history. And so when we know better, we do better, right? And so I always love to end with this quote: what I learned today doesn't make yesterday wrong, it just makes tomorrow better. So we thank you all for participating. Thank you, Dr. Skelton, Gabe, Tamika, Yahira, Tamario, Marcellus, Tariq, and Andy. I do want to say that Mayor Farmer couldn't participate, and so I opened it up, and Candace couldn't participate tonight for a number of reasons. And our hope was that they would be able to share their comments on Facebook, and of course that didn't happen. But nevertheless, we will continue and post this recording on Facebook for people to watch at a later time and share their comments. And if you don't forget about that post, it'll be on my page. And if you see comments, if you want to share your contact information and share opportunities with people who may reach out to you and want to hear more from you, please feel free to do that. And we look forward to following up with Gabe and Marcellus on their ideas and supporting them in their work. And Veronica, I don't want to leave you out. I know we had planned some things tonight. So any final thoughts that you have that you want to share with our panel and with our public?
Marcellus for president.
Well, I didn't say this, but Marcellus is a singer. And so he can always take us out with a song. He has a beautiful voice. I told him to be prepared in case he got called on. So before I do that, Marcellus, Veronica, please continue.
Yeah, so lots of great things. I wrote a whole lot of notes, but stop stepping over our history and culture was a big one. We were more than just slaves. I think that's a reminder that there's more to our history than just the history of slavery, right? So many great things. I think this was good. Push past the politics. That was a big one that kept coming up, but ultimately the hopes that you had were the same. Everybody wanted everyone to feel included and seen and heard. So being seen was a big one. But I've enjoyed the opportunity. I took lots of notes for you, Robin. So I hope you'll be ready for them after. So thank you for including me.
Yes, yes, yes. Thank you so much.
Okay. Sorry, my mom kept coming in my room. But okay, I tried to be prepared, so I looked up the song about friendship. So sing along if you know the words. Sometimes in our lives, we all have pain. We all have sorrow. But if we are wise, we know that there's always tomorrow. Lean on me
Right now.
that's strong, and I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on till I need somebody to lean on.
Thank you. Such an inspiration.
Thank
God
you.
bless. Yes, yes, you did
I'm
that.
gonna come meet you, man. If we get back on campus, you're gonna be the first person I come see. Come the 24th.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank
Bye.
you all. Y'all have a good night.
Bye. Have a good night.